Hello again, this is Mike with Toy Train Tips and Tricks, and today we are going to open a box that just arrived from UPS, and we're going to find out what kind of fun we have. This should be a nice Marx train set, but we're going to open it up and see what we actually got here from eBay. So here's the package, and let's see. Okay. Oh, this looks like a crane car. Let's see, how do they have this rolled up here? Okay, there's the tape. Oh yes, we have a Marx New York Central crane car. This is cool. We have the 8-wheel trucks with tilt couplers. I'll be doing a video later on how the tilt couplers work, what they really are. So it's marked on this side. There we go. New York Central. Alrighty. So this is what they would call an 8-wheel plastic car, as opposed to, and you see that the crank works, as opposed to Marx's cheaper line, which was 4-wheel plastic, and they looked like this, you see, with the simulated trucks and only 4 wheels. So the 8-wheel are certainly more desirable. Let's take a look at what else is in the box. We have, looks like a New York Central Caboose, well packaged again. And let's be careful with this. Don't want to break. There we go. There's a smokestack on here. We don't want to break off. So one real fragile part on these. All right, and again, this is 8-wheel plastic, and you can compare side by side here the 8-wheel versus the 4-wheel version. Pretty much the same mold, except for the bottom. We've got simulated trucks here. All right, so looks to be in good shape. We have the one set of railings. The others are not there, and they generally are not there. That's in the mold. That is not broken. You can see the Marx label right here, part of the injection mold, and also here on the back. Pretty clear. And again, tilt couplers. Oh, on both ends of the Caboose. That's interesting. Unlike most of your Lionel fare, which only has couplers on one end, here we have couplers on both ends. And let's see what else we have in the box. Pulling out now. This has some weight to it. Here we have a tender. Looks like, again, New York Central. We've got a theme here. So this was probably all together as a set. We don't have the original box, obviously, to know exactly what it was. And again, 8-wheel. This would be a Marx slope back tender, very similar to the Lionel slope back tender for switchers. Again, we've got a tilt coupler on the back end, and the drawbar, which is essentially a Marx tab and slot coupler. That is common. Alrighty, so again, appears to be in good shape. So we definitely have our steam set going on here. Oh, what do we have now? We have a boxcar. This one appears to not be New York Central. Looks like Great Northern, if I'm seeing properly through the bubbles. So unlike Lionel, Marx didn't put out a consumer catalog every year. They did put out catalogs, of course, for their dealers and distributors to let them know what was out there. But without a regular run of a consumer catalog, it is difficult, certainly much more difficult than with Lionel, to pinpoint what was made when. And so you pretty much have to rely on Sears catalogs, pennies, things like that. And again, we have 8-wheel plastic with our tilt couplers. These are plastic tilt couplers, yes. Plastic tilt couplers. They also made them in metal. And does that say 61 there? New 161. Yeah, it's built 161, so we know that this was made somewhere between 1961 and 1974. That helps narrow it down for us a little bit. Obviously, they wouldn't. You see the Marx logo there underneath. They obviously would not have made something, say, in 1958 that said new in 61. Yeah. So, and that leads us to the real prize, the Locomotive, which in this case should be a number 1666. Let's take it out of the wrap and see what we've got here. Where's the tape? There it is. The 1666 is a 242 steamer. It is the plastic version, basically the plastic version of the die-cast 666 242 steamer. They share pretty much the same motors. The motors are interchangeable, as is the case with most Marx 4-wheel steam locomotives, whether it's a 666, a 1666, a 400, a 490. Pretty much all the motors are interchangeable, so you do have to be careful when you purchase a Marx. If you're someone who uses Lionel turnouts especially, you always want to look at the bottom of the locomotive, which I'll show you right here. Yes, this is a 1666. You always want to look at the bottom of the locomotive right here and see whether or not we have what we call the double reduction gearing like we have here. These will pass through Lionel turnouts without any problem, versus the earlier single reduction where these gear teeth come all the way out to the edge of the flange and there's only one gear in between. So the disadvantage of that motor is, one, it will not pass through any Lionel Low 27 switch made after 1952. And secondly, because of the higher gear ratio, they tend to run faster, unprototypically so. The double reduction gets you a slightly more realistic speed, and they will run through Lionel switches. This one is also equipped with smoke. You can see the bottom of the smoke unit right here. This gray middle piece right here, that is the smoke unit, smoke chamber. Now, some of these are set up, and this might be one of them. Did I hit a jackpot here? Some of the 1666s have smoke that comes out the side, has cylinder smoke under here. So as the wheels turn, the drawbar is attached to that piece, which is acting as a bellows, and it will push smoke certainly out the top of the locomotive. I don't see a hole for this to be a side smoker. Okay, no, this one is not a side cylinder smoker. This is a standard one. As the drawbars push back and forth, it moves this forth, which helps puff the smoke out the top. If it were a side smoker, there would be holes here on the side, and these smoke chamber would allow some smoke to escape on the side, which is unique for Marx locomotives, and originally only came on the 1666. If you come across a 666 with side smoke, it's because the motor has been swapped out. That's pretty much universally agreed upon with Marx folks. So even though this is a plastic locomotive versus the die-cast 666, it runs very well. Some of these have traction tires. I have another 1666 that has a traction tire. This one does not appear to have one. But still, these are pretty good running locomotives. So let's take a look at what we've got and see what we've got here. By the way, the 1666s were made from the mid-1950s up to the end of Marx's production in 1974. By the early 70s, the 1666 and the 666 were pretty much the top-end steamers that Marx was making at the time. They did make the larger 333 and 1829 Hudson and Pacific late 40s into the early 50s, but by the late 50s, certainly the 333 was gone, and by the end of production, 60s, 70s, the 242s like these were the top of the line. So with a smoking 1666 with 8-wheel tilt couplers, this was pretty much a top-of-the-line set. Some of the later 1666s also come with a tender that has the Marx Sound of Power, which has a little wheel here. For those, and a 1666, you can pretty much triple the value of a 1666 if it has the Sound of Power on it. So let's put it on the track. Let's see what it can do. It is often said that the only rare Marx engine is one that won't run. And that's been pretty much my experience as well. This one, I just put it on the track and it was not going anywhere. It was just too filthy. So actually this one does have a traction tire. It was just the wheels were so dirty you couldn't see it. It's right here. So literally all that I've done with this locomotive is to clean the wheels. I gave it a shot of this CRC 226. This is good electrical contact cleaner, and it does a good job. I just put a shot of that, held it on the track, and all the dirt disappeared. Then while I was at it, I threw a shot of some lithium grease here on the gears and some good lube on the armature right here. And then I did the same thing to this middle gear on this opposite side. And now she runs like a little demon. So now let's put it on the track and see what happens.
Come all you rounders if you want to hear a story about a brave engineer. Now Casey Jones was the rounder's name. On a 6-8 wheeler, boy, he won his fame. The caller called Casey at a half-past 4. He kissed his wife at the station door. He mounted to the cabin.
Okay, so I don't know if you can tell from the lighting how well the locomotive is smoking, but believe me, she is smoking quite well with just the residual fluid that's still in the chamber. And the tray that came with it is, really lightweight. So we're mixing and matching to add a few more Marx cars to the mix to give it a little bit more substantial train to pull. So let's see what happens here. Reverse, forward. Okay, a few more detail points here on the 1666. One, why Marx did this so much, I don't know, but locomotive, you see here, steam locomotive with a diesel horn. Lionel did that on one of their Scout locomotives as well. It was not common in the steam era to have an air horn as well, but some railroads did do that. For example, Southern Pacific, the 4449, among others, has both a horn and a steam whistle. So, and then detail-wise, I think the rivets on the roof are a little too pronounced for my taste. But it's still a pretty handsome locomotive. It's roughly the same size as a Lionel Scout 242. It has this broad pilot, gives it a good hey, I'm ready for business look to it. Sometimes the number 1666 is embossed in the number boards. I've seen some without. Those might be reproductions. I don't know. But in any way, it's a pretty handsome locomotive, and pretty functional. And some of these Marx engines are a little bit underrated, I believe. They tend to come in less expensive than your typical Lionel counterpart. For a plain Jane 1666, just the basic 242 with smoke, you can generally find those for usually in the $35 to $50 range, depending on condition. If it's a side smoker, you can probably add 10 to 15% for that. And if it has the sound of power tender, you can take that price and almost triple it, because that's kind of like the holy grail of 1666s. Also, there is an olive drab version. Be careful of those because they are very easy to fake, but a legitimate one with an army train is worth considerably more as well to the collector market. So don't discount these Marx locomotives. They work just fine with Lionel 027 track, 027 turnouts, crossovers, all of that. And, it's a nice little engine, and it adds some variety to your fleet. And don't worry about compatibility with Lionel couplers. You can either swap out a Lionel tender, which works just fine, or you can use my crazy coupler adapter to go from the Marx type couplers to Lionel without any problems. So there are several different ways to do that. Another way is to swap out the trucks with a Lionel coupler truck on your Marx. That works too. K-Line also made some Marx tooled tenders with Lionel type couplers. So those are all options for how to mix and match your Lionel and Marx. But don't overlook the 1666. It's a nice engine, good smoker, and good puller for the price. All right, and a few final things you should know about the 1666. First of all, do not confuse this with the Lionel steamer of the same number. A Lionel 666 is a 262 steamer of the late pre-war and early post-war era. That mechanism was used as the basis for a whole string of Lionel 262s and 264s, but it's a totally different locomotive. Same number, different locomotive. Secondly, like most of the high-end Marx steamers, there is a reversing unit, an electronic reversing unit. In the 1666, it is a two-position unit, forward, reverse, no neutral position, and there is no lockout switch. There isn't one, so be careful if you have a lot of dirty track or a bunch of turnouts right next to one another. You might have to, really run the juice high, run it fast in order to get it through there without cycling the reverse unit. Maintenance on these is very, very easy. You remove these two screws, there's one on each side, and this allows the shell to pop off. And here is the inside of a 1666. You've got your smoke unit here. You've got your reverse unit here. About all that can go wrong with them really is that they get dirty. Shoot some electronics cleaner in there every once in a while, clean that out, and you're in good shape. And here you've got access to your armature, your brushes. If you do need to take the brush plate off, there is a screw here, and there should be two nuts here, which are missing. I'm in the middle of fixing up this basket case version here. So there's two nuts that are supposed to go there to hold the brush plate on, but you can pop that off, get in there, clean the face of the commutator, and it's pretty easy access and pretty easy to put back together. If you do require parts, the best place to go for Marx parts, just Google Marx train parts. It should take you to Robert Grossman, and that is pretty much the definitive source for Marx parts and information. So again, I hope you liked the video. If you do, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and until next time, let's keep the trains running.